Good evening. Good evening, as Robert Plant would say at every Led Zeppelin concert. Well, you've read the description, you know what it's time for. It's time for another primer. This time it's on the Led Zeppelin, the Led what? No. This is a Led Zeppelin primer that I'm going to be doing. This is my third primer, so this is episode 3 of primers. And we're going to go, what the primer is the discography. All the albums, and I'm going to show us a few other things as well. So starting with the Led Zeppelin primer, we have the first album, Led Zeppelin, also known as Led Zeppelin 1. For some reason, this is the only Led Zeppelin album I've never owned a copy of. I've never gone out and bought it. And it's not because I don't like it, it's just there's so many bands and artists I like, and if you see my reviews, you know how kind of eclectic I am. Like yesterday, I put a video up that I just bought the brand new Gong album and an old Steve Hillage CD from Waterloo Records. But getting on to the Led Zeppelin album, it's the first album. It's very bluesy. There's a lot of covers on it, or I shouldn't say covers, but songs that were taken from other artists and blues artists. There's Dazed and Confused, and which was partly was a song that the Yardbirds were doing before Zeppelin did it, but they were doing a Jake Holmes version, whereas Plant and Page had made their own version of Dazed and Confused. So there's Dazed and Confused, Communication Breakdown, great songs like that. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Trying to think, what else was on there? I don't have that album. I'm trying to think, I don't have that one. Anyway, with the first album, it's very essential. It's not my favorite because of the fact that they did take a lot from the old blues artists on that one. There's a lot of stuff. There's like really only a couple songs which are completely original, or else there's like no evidence that they were borrowed from other people. So that's Led Zeppelin, the first album. Going on to second one, Led Zeppelin 2. This one is a classic. I absolutely love this one. This one also has some blues bits taken off from some people, like Whole Lot of Love was an old Willie Dixon song that Muddy Waters had done, and they did get into some trouble for that, some legal trouble with the lyrical content. But it's a great song nonetheless. I love it. Not my favorite one on here. I really like, my favorite one is probably What Is and What Should Never Be. I think that's a great song. They used to play it live back in the early 70s, late 60s. Lemon Song is interesting. I really like the Lemon Song. Heartbreaker's great song. Living Loving Maid's good. Ramble On's one of my favorites. I really like Ramble On, and I believe they had the first and so far only live Ramble On at the O2 Arena concert back in 2007 when they did Celebration Day. Moby Dick, drum solo, and Bring It On Home, which was another blues. I can't remember who that was from, but that was, I want to say Willie Dixon, but I could be wrong. But anyway, the album in a nutshell, Led Zeppelin 2 is a great album. Very essential. It's a must-have. I absolutely love Led Zeppelin 2. So there's that one. And then we're going to go on to the next album, third album, simply titled Led Zeppelin 3. This one was a bit of a departure. This one, instead of going the blues route, the electric blues-based boogies or whatever, they went to a more acoustic route for a good percentage of this album. There is still some hard rockers, some electrical ones. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I mean, Immigrant Song's always been a classic Led Zeppelin song. That's a fiery rocker, very heavy rock song. It's a heavy song. Celebration Day is also one I really like on here. This is a more laid-back album, but one of their best, I think. It's one of the most underrated albums, but I really like this. I had this on vinyl back in the day, but I absolutely love this. One song that never gets mentioned is Tangerine. I absolutely love the Tangerine song. I don't know how often radio played that. I'm sure they must have played it some, but I mean, if you see the Earl's Court show, it was a good thing that at Earl's Court they actually played Tangerine live at Earl's Court. That was a rarity. When I saw that at Earl's Court. I mean, I didn't go to the show. I wasn't born then, but I have the bootleg DVD. But yeah, Bronny R. Stomp. I really like Bronny R. Stomp. Great album. Another essential one, even if it doesn't get the praise it deserves. Led Zeppelin 3 is classic. All right, going on to the fourth album. The album everyone has. Everybody has this album if they don't have one of those pointless greatest hit albums or those box sets with tons of their stuff. This one. Led Zeppelin 4, Zoso, Ruins, Four Symbols, Old Man with Sticks on His Back, whatever you want to call it. This album doesn't have a title. The album, the famous album without a title, Untitled. Amazing. Once when I was a kid and I had this on vinyl, this was my favorite Led Zeppelin album. This was my absolute favorite. In some ways it still is, because it is a classic. It's very essential. You've got great songs on here like Black Dog, Rock and Roll, of course the amazing Stairway to Heaven. My personal favorite on here is probably the Ballad of Evermore. It's a very Renaissance sounding song with mandolins, and you've got the late great Sandy Denny singing her parts over it from Fairport Convention. When the Levee Grates is a very heavy song, heavy drums, very heavy drums. I mean, Misty Mountain Hop, great album. I think my least favorite song on this is probably Four Sticks. That's the only one that I don't dislike it. It just doesn't do a lot for me. But this is an absolute great Led Zeppelin album. You probably have this already. For you watching my primer, you probably have all these albums, and you're gonna see my opinions on them. But yeah, you can't go wrong with this. Your record collection would be naked without this. Okay, going on to number 5. Finally, a Led Zeppelin album with the title Houses of the Holy. This one has to be my personal favorite. I absolutely love this. This album is just perfect. These songs are just perfect on it. It's got Over the Hills and Far Away, which may be my favorite Led Zeppelin song ever. The Crunge, I love The Crunge. Of course, No Quarter is amazing. This is a great album. Jermaker, I love Jermaker. Them doing reggae, Dancing Days. There's not a bad song on this album. The song remains the same. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's one of the greatest songs that they ever did. Love The Song Remains the Same. Love the production on this. It sounds great production. This is of course a remaster. I think this was remastered. I'm not sure when this edition has come out. They've also have released those box sets where you can get either the expanded CD versions, or you can get it all with the vinyl and the CDs. I don't have any of those. I just have the regular CDs. But this sounds great. Excellent album. This album is a masterpiece. This is one of the best albums I've ever heard. I like all the ones that I've showed you so far. What came after that? The 6th album came out. When did this come out? 1975. Another monumental, amazing album. Physical Graffiti. Double album. This one is very solid. This one is half new songs, half songs that were kept in the can. But great that they had put them out. Kind of like how I'm not a huge fan of the Rolling Stones, but kind of how the Rolling Stones Tattoo You was. It was songs from that were left in the can, and they put them out. But back to Led Zeppelin. This album is another masterpiece. I really love this one. There's great songs with me. I love In My Time of Dying, Trampled Underfoot. We all know Kashmir, love Kashmir. Them experimenting with Moroccan music. I love that. Brownie R is a great guitar piece by Jimmy Page. I love that one. 10 Years Gone is just, I can go on and on and on about this. Boogie with Stu is hilarious. Custard Pie, The Rover. I'm done talking to you off, but just get this. This is essential. This is just as essential as Houses of the Holy. I love Physical Graffiti. Awesome. Alright. Next we go into album number 7. And this is an album, one of their most obscure albums actually. It's probably even more underrated than 3. But we have 1976's Presence. This album, I like this album quite a bit actually. I like this one probably a lot more than some other Led Zeppelin fans do. This album really doesn't get talked about. Some people might think this is a step down for them. And it's definitely different. They're going in a different direction. But they had some tragedies in this. Robert Plant and his family had the story. He was in a car accident and broke his leg. So the whole time they were recording this, he had to have sit down while recording his vocals, because his leg was in a cast. But on to the album, there's some great, it starts off great with A Killer's Last Stand. I love that. For Your Life, must mention that was also a song that they played. They debuted at the O2 Arena on the Celebration Day film. And, Royal Orleans, I really like all these songs. I actually like Candy Store Rock. Some people think it's too much of a like an Elvis type uh, uh, copy, or like Robert trying to do an Elvis song or something. Robert trying to sing like Elvis. But I love Candy Store Rock. The only song I don't really care for on here is T for One. I think it starts off really cool, but then it gets really slow and it sounds like another Since I've Been Loving You. I never liked Since I've Been Loving You. I always thought that song was very boring. But everything else, I mean, I really love. Nobody's Fault But Mine is great. You've heard that one on the radio. Favorite song on here is probably Achilles' Last Stand. It opens up the album great. There's some great live versions of it. But would I say this is essential? To me it is, because I actually love this album. This, I think, is a great album. I say get this. But you're going to want to get at least 3 of the ones I mentioned first. But awesome album. I love Presence. I think it doesn't get the attention it deserves. Okay, album number 8. This one's kind of a weird one. This is actually the final album. This was the first Led Zeppelin studio album I got on vinyl. I had this on vinyl when I was a kid and I grew up with it. It's Enter the Outdoor, 1979. This closes out the 70s and closes out their catalog of albums of all new music. It's different, very different, but I think there's some strong stuff on it. In the Evening is great. Southbound Sares, Caras Alhambra I absolutely love. I think it's great. Again, this is another one like Presence where I like all the songs except for the last one. I don't like I'm Gonna Crawl. I just never liked it. Hot Dog is fun. It's a good, clean, fun song. Fool in the Rain. I used to hear that on the radio. I actually think this is a really good album. Is it essential? Probably not. But this is one I pull out every now and then and listen to. I actually really, it might be because I grew up with this album, but I know some people hate it. I have a friend of mine that absolutely hates this album. I've heard some people just really trash this album. I think it's a good album. I'm not going to say it's essential. I'm not going to say it's the best thing ever, but if you want to be a true Led Zeppelin fan, you have to get all the albums and not get greatest hits or the box sets. Just get the albums. Enter the Outdoor, love it. I absolutely love Enter the Outdoor. I think it's great. And that's the end of their actual albums. Sadly, John Bonham passes away. After a whole day of drinking lots of vodka. You know the story. It's all Led Zeppelin history. So the band is done. And was it 3 years after Enter the Outdoor, they released this CD, or record, whatever, called Coda. Now, Coda is an album of leftovers that were not ever put on their records. It has a few Enter the Outdoor outtakes, such as Ozone Baby and Wearing and Tearing. And Houses of the Holy outtake, which I believe was Walter's Walk. Poor Tom being a Led Zeppelin 3 outtake. And then there's 2 live songs, We're Gonna Groove and I Can't Quit You Baby, which were both from the Royal Albert Hall show with overdubbed guitar leads by Jimmy Page and the audience noise taken out. Actually, Bonzo's Montreal is one I really like, maybe because I'm a drummer. It's John Bonham playing on the drums, and what you hear that sounds like somebody playing a steel drum, I've actually heard as a guitar. I could be wrong, but I read somewhere it was a guitar, or heard somewhere on YouTube that, I don't know, I guess that's Jimmy Page on the guitar, but that's what I've heard. It sounded just like a steel drum. That might be false. If any YouTubers watching this want to correct me. How do I feel about this album? Again, like Enter the Outdoor, I mean, a lot of people don't like this album. But I think there's some really great stuff on here. I mean, I bought this. This is actually the first album I got from them on CD. I had their vinyl growing up with them, but the first Led Zeppelin CD I got was Coda because I heard Ozone Baby on the local classic rock radio station. And Ozone Baby, I love that. That's one of my favorite songs ever. Ozone Baby is great. Wearing and Tearing is amazing. I really like Wearing and Tearing. Walter's Walk is one of my favorites. Yeah, I mean, I say this. I say you should get this, but this should probably be the last one to get. I think the true fans, I shouldn't say true fans, but I think there's a good percentage of fans that like this. I absolutely love this album. I think Coda is really, really good. So that is the studio albums. They have put out some live albums. Of course, there was the soundtrack to the movie, The Song Remains the Same, which is actually, I don't have a copy of the CD But I grew up with that record. That was the first Led Zeppelin album I had. My brother gave that to me. And I think it's kind of weak, actually. I have some Led Zeppelin bootlegs that are much better. I have quite a bit of bootlegs with them. I'm a pretty huge fan. Yeah, it's alright. I mean, it's definitely not essential. I wouldn't even really check that out. 98, I think, was released, or 97, 98. The BBC sessions, live at the BBC. Don't have a copy of that, but I've heard it's pretty cool. It's like the early days of them at the BBC. It's interesting. It's worth picking up. I haven't gotten around to getting a copy of it, but I'd say it's worth it. But don't start with that one. You really want to start with the proper Led Zeppelin album. And you definitely don't want to start with Coda. Then in 2003 we got this release, How the West Was Won. This album is a triple CD, and this is from two shows. It's two shows on the from 72, I believe. I might have to cheat and look here again. I believe, yeah, they were from June 25th, 1972, and June 27th. June 25th was from the LA Forum, which they played quite a bit. I had some bootlegs from those. I had a couple of bootlegs from that venue, including John Bonham's 25th birthday. And the 27th of June at the Long Beach Arena. These are taken from two shows, and it's actually it's a great quality album. This quality is crystal clear. Really good performances. You know, CD1's got a lot. It got 10 songs. CD2 and CD3 has 4 songs. But yeah, definitely, I'd say get this once you get the albums. If you want to hear a really good live album, just totally skip the song and save and get this. This is it's really cool. One thing I like about it is how they play some Houses of the Holy songs, and the album hadn't been released. It didn't get released till next year because they were still working on it, I guess, at the time. And so the audience got a treat and got to hear some new stuff. So that's cool. But yeah, How the West Was Won is really killer. And then, what else? In 2007, they released this CD, DVD package of the O2 Arena. I really like it. The DVD, I think, is a lot better than the CDs. And it's not just because you get to see it. But the CDs, they cut off some in-between stuff that, which I might be being a little too picky, but in the DVD, you get most of the in-between stuff. They did cut out a little bit in the official DVD too. I do have a bootleg show of this 2 DVD-R bootleg of An Audience Shot, which was put out by the Cat's Eye, which I guess was a bootleg company. But it's cool to see it from that angle too. But this didn't come out till 5 years after the show. For the longest time, I kept watching that bootleg because the show was so good from the audience. It's one shot, and then this one finally came out. I've watched this one. The DVD's good, but the set list is amazing. I mean, they play like I said, songs that were never played before, like Ramble On and For Your Life. But I mean, you're getting so many great songs. They open up with Good Times, Bad Times. That was a song I tried to remember on the first one. Good Times, Bad Times is a great song. In My Time of Dying, Trampled Underfoot, No Quarter. You know, Stairway to Heaven. The song remains the same. Misty Mountain Hop. Yeah, this is. I'd say this is even better than The Song Remains the Same concerts. I mean, some people might slap me in the face for that. I think they were more on par with that. All right, so that's the live albums, and they've got like some DVDs. I mean, everybody probably has seen this. Might not own a copy, but the Led Zeppelin movie. Song Remains the Same. For a long time, this was the only video footage you can get for the longest time. Everything else was like a bootleg, and you had people were trying to collect it, such as the Royal Albert Hall performance. The movie, I mean, it's worth having. It's worth watching. You know, it's not one I pull out very often, but it's an okay film. And like I said, the shows. This isn't some of Led Zeppelin's best stuff live. It was their last 3 nights on the tour. Of the Houses of the Holy tour. You could tell they were burnt out, they were tired. But I mean, the movie it's pretty crazy. It gets pretty interesting in places. I mean, there's the dream sequences. You know, there's the scene where Jimmy Page climbs up the mountain and he sees himself as a wizard, looking like Gandalf, and he does this with a sword. You know, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. But yeah, it's worth having. I got it. I got this used for about $5. So that's one DVD right there. And a few days ago I did a review for this one. This one's really, really good. The Led Zeppelin box set DVD. You're getting this is a collector's gold mine. Royal Albert Hall 1970, Communication Breakdown music video, Denmark Radio Super Show, Townsend Singing on DVD 1. DVD 2, you get a live film of Immigrant Song, a few songs from the Madison Square Garden shows that were filmed for the movie. Earl's Court 75, which is great. You get 6 songs from that. Nebworth 79, some New York City press conference, Old Grey Whistle Test, promo films. It's great. You want me to talk more about that? Watch my review on the Led Zeppelin DVD review. I can't recommend this enough. This is what you really need. I would get this way before you bought The Song Remains the Same, if you haven't gotten it already, and then get The Song Remains the Same. And this isn't really official, but I'm just going to show this anyway, just because I had it. I got this for, I think I got it last Christmas, but this is a DVD, Dazed and Confused. It's a Led Zeppelin story. It's unauthorized. Now, I didn't know it was unauthorized until I got it. I thought this was an official DVD. There are interviews with Jimmy Page and Robert Plant and John Paul Jones, but they're from other sources. They weren't from this DVD. The people that are actually interviewed specifically for the DVD are people, of course, we've never heard of. But it's actually pretty interesting. I actually like the DVD. I've watched it a couple of times. It's not essential. You might be able to find the whole documentary on YouTube. You might not think it's worth owning, but like I said, I didn't know it was unauthorized until I got it. But I enjoy it. Most unauthorized DVDs are terrible, but I enjoy it. So, it's Dazed and Confused, the Led Zeppelin story. And that's my Led Zeppelin collection. And I am not about to show you all my bootlegs because I'm not going to have time for that. I've got audio bootlegs, DVD bootlegs, audio, video, CD, CDR, DVD-R, you know. I'll talk about that for another time, but that is my Led Zeppelin primer, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's the 3rd primer I've done. And if you liked it, leave a comment, rate, subscribe, whatever, you know. Tell me what you thought about the Led Zeppelin primer. Tell me your favorite Led Zeppelin tunes, your favorite Led Zeppelin album. Have you seen Led Zeppelin live? Were you old enough to see them live? Did you go to the O2 show? Oh, give me a comment. Tell me what you thought about the Led Zeppelin primer. I had a lot of fun doing it. I need to do more of these primers. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll probably be on tomorrow with another review. I'll have some idea. Probably something progressive. I don't know. I'm in my prog mood. Like I said, I just got Gong's brand new album, ICU. And I'll probably end up reviewing that once I completely digest it, so you'll know my opinion. I'm not going to tell you how I feel about it yet, but you will know eventually. Alright, good night, rock on, and I will see you later on YouTube.